I hear you. All right, we're recording. Welcome to the Max Revenue Show. I am your host, the mediocre producer, Trey Shields, along with the Zen master of commercial insurance, Micah Salas. Micah, how are you this morning?
Namaste.
Namaste. That never, it's just not growing on me, but
Yeah,
it is what
no,
it is.
I'm not a namaste person. What does that even mean? Blessings or something? Peace?
We're going to talk about boredom, burnout, breakthrough. I'm going to come up with some title of, the combination of that. But basically it is, and I know you've had messages like this where it's something to the effect of like, hey, I've been stuck at 250K or I've been stuck at 500K. And every year is kind of the same. I lose 10%, I gain 10%, and I'm always plus or minus 10 to 20%. Like basically how to break through the plateau as a producer, no matter where you're at in your book of business. We're all selling kind of different size deals. We have different niches. Maybe you have 40 clients at 5,000 in revenue a piece average. So you're at 2 to 250 and that's your plateau. Maybe you're a producer who's plateaued at 500, and maybe you at 1 million and like, hey, how do I get to 2 million? So this, I would say it's less about the number and more about breaking through the plateau. At least that's how I kind of envision this episode. So I want to turn it over to you and just see what your take is. If somebody or the people who have come to you with that question, what's your take on that? What are the things you would do to kind of break through?
Well, it's a multi-faceted question because you mentioned in the intro to this, there's breakthrough and there's boredom. So it's kind of almost two separate issues. If you're suffering
and burnout.
Yeah, if you're suffering from all three are slightly different, right? Breakthrough means that you're still hungry, but you're just feeling like, man, I'm hitting this glass ceiling. Boredom is like, dude, I don't know if this is even right for me, or maybe kind of like, yeah, it's okay. Like I'm not passionate about it, but my boss is pushing me. I want to make more money, whatever. And then burnout is just like, dude, I'm kind of hungry, but I'm burnt out. Like, so it's three different things. So I don't know if this will hit all three of those, but I jotted down like 6 things. Some of these are practical. Some will speak more to burnout than they will to boredom, and just kind of take it from there. But the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things I think, and this is more, I think this would be more of a boredom possibility or burnout, probably boredom. Make it about something bigger than just yourself, right? So like if you have a family, like really kind of tie it back to that. Or if you like want to be super generous and help out orphans in Russia, wherever, make it about that. Like that's your mission statement, right? Like, hey, this is why I'm really doing this. Like the kind of why behind the job. And I think, it sounds cliche, but I think a lot of us lose sight of that bigger picture sometimes, or maybe it's just all about me and like, hey, what can I achieve? I want to be here, here, and here, but expand that, go to your family. And then if you don't have a family, hey, how can I help those people around me, where I live or whatever? And I think that will provide a lot of fulfillment in and of itself that probably lose sight of. Okay, here's more of a practical one. Find a peer to push you. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool story. Like we hired 2 new producers, and I didn't know this, but I was chatting with one of them, and they're both successful in their previous roles. And he was like, dude, every week we have a challenge, kind of like we put $5 on the line, who sets the most meetings, right? And I'm like, man, dude, that's awesome. It's just so simple. And I think a lot of us don't do stuff like that. And a lot of us have backgrounds that are maybe in sports or some competitive type situations. We have that blood flowing through us. And that's one of the reasons I do like sales and prospecting. When I first got out of college, and I finally got into sales a couple of years later, I was like, man, this kind of scratches that itch for me, the competitive itch. So there's more of a practical one.
Hold on. It just reminds me, so like at a previous agency, we had a big gong when you wrote a deal, you go in there and bang the gong. And so
Yep.
everybody would hear it. So it was, like it was an incentive to do it because then you got to ring the gong. And then also if you didn't write a deal, you had to hear that somebody else did. And so it's kind of like gets the juices flowing. And then also, it just reminds me of like, at least with Alabama football, they have like the heavyweight belt,
Oh,
whenever you get a turnover.
Yep.
Or whatever. And it just goes back to like sales culture. And at least in my experience and the agencies I've worked at, I think we struggle with that a little bit. It's like, it's kind of like every man for himself. Whereas like if we're truly treating it maybe more like a true sales team, you got to have the sales culture and the camaraderie and that kind of incentive based, like putting skins on the wall and getting attention for it. So I think, no doubt.
I think the question becomes for you guys listening. I know we have plenty of you out there who are like sales leaders or agency owners, and you have a small little team underneath you. The hard part is, how do you motivate people who don't want to play those games, right? And it's like, or they think it's cheesy, or you're like, maybe it's your own internal thoughts, like, oh, they'll think I'm cheesy if I roll this out. I would just say do it, and just be real with people. Like it has to be genuine, right? Like I think you don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. You want to do it because you truly care. You want to see other people. Again, it goes kind of thinking outside yourself if you're a leader. Like, I want to see everyone be successful, right? And like, this is why I'm going to do this. I think it can just help us all, have more fun. Another thing that I'd written down or thought through was gamifying it, which is kind of tied to the peer-to-peer, but it's a little different because you can gamify everything. I had wrote an article on Substack when I wrote for like 2 months on there, and then I got burnt out. So if you go follow me, you'll see a bunch of old.
Yeah, way to push through the plateau.
Yeah, I didn't push very hard. But gamify things, like everything, like your daily calls, your meetings, just everything, renewals, and think of a framework around that where you can have more fun. And I kind of put like gamify and put / find joy. We've all met those people who are working at like, Buffalo Wild Wings behind the grill. They should be miserable and they're just super happy and joyful and like seem like they love their job. You can't tell me that person's dreaming about working at Buffalo Wild Wings, but they found basically a way to find internal joy no matter what they're doing, no matter what their external circumstances look like. So I think gamifying kind of helps bring that out. And I would just encourage you, if you're listening to this, and again, if you're bored or burnt out or need a breakthrough, to kind of change things up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe post it publicly. Maybe a little public accountability.
Yeah,
we have a guy that's supposedly building this app for us called Producer Games, which you may have seen Mike or I post in the past a little snippet of it, where it actually kind of gamifies it. That's the idea, is to gamify prospecting. And it builds like this leaderboard with you versus other agents across the country and who's doing the most. And it's taking much longer than we expected. So I don't even know if that's ever going to come out, but we'll see if it does. But yeah, so hopefully we're trying to help you out with the gamifying part, but we'll see if that ever comes to fruition or not.
Yeah.
Supposedly by the end of this month, we'll see.
I hope it does. It'd be fun to see how it does and helps people. Let's see. Another thing, just think bigger. Maybe if you're at that glass ceiling, you're like, every year I can't, it's just a churn, right? Set some crazy target, right? Like that you don't think you could ever achieve, and just have fun, trying to get there. The science behind it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like the yellow bug. If you're driving, right, you think of yellow bugs, you're going to see them everywhere, or whatever kind of color car. But so your reticular activating system will basically reorientate everything to whatever your target is. So it's like, if you set some crazy, and I'm going to do a YouTube video on this, so go check it out if you're listening, on the story of Scott Adams, the writer of Dilbert, because he has a really wild story about this, how he became, a world famous cartoonist, and he was working in corporate before that. But I just think it's kind of fun, right? It's kind of exciting because we can always set little goals like, hey, do 50,000 or do my 100K, whatever it is. and it can get boring. So this is more of a boredom one. If you're bored, try thinking bigger. Let's see. Here's a practical one, is more of a breakthrough, but systems. I think everyone's seen this, or Mosey says it, everyone says it, but systems are more important than goals. It's good that you need to have a target and a goal, but then you got to have systems. And so if you're hitting that glass ceiling at 500K, you got to ask yourself, what systems do you have in place to help you even get to 1 million, right? And if you don't have the right systems in place, even if you got 2 million, it might all collapse, right? So you got to have the right systems to renew clients, because you're never going to grow without properly renewing clients. I just had a story with a younger producer I work with, called me. He's like, "Hey man, what do I do? I had this July 4th renewal. And he calls me on July 11th. Doesn't have paperwork signed. The client's without insurance."
What?
I'm like, well, hold up, dude. I'm like, basically the account manager, according to him, he's used to people basically the account manager should be like, "Hey, we need this and this by this date," right? He said he thought he got it, but never did. And here we are now, a week past renewal. The client's like, "What the hell's going on?" And I was like, "Dude, you got to take ownership, man." I'm like, every account manager's got different skill level. And maybe this is their fault. Maybe it sounds to me like it's at least partially both people's fault, maybe. But, if they don't take ownership, how do you get paid, dude? You get paid based off of commission, so it's like, you got to take ownership of this thing. So go back in your head and go 150 days prior to this renewal. You should be asking for this, this, and this from that account manager if they don't proactively give it to you. Now, it's awesome. We all have worked with account managers that range across the scale from terrible to great. And wherever they fall, it doesn't matter. But yeah, the great ones will get you what you need. They'll be like, "Oh, here's the renewal packets. Here's everything." And it's just like, "Oh, awesome." It's just like, but not everyone's going to do that. And so maybe you can coach your person to get to that level. But regardless, you got to take ownership, and you got to have the systems in place to make sure this never happens again, right? Same type of system like we talk about with prospecting. "Oh, dude, my pipeline sucks," or "I'm always chasing deals down last minute." I'm always behind the 8 ball. You probably don't have the right systems in place working out early enough to make sure that this isn't happening to you. So there's just different systems that if you want to be a million or 2 million or $3 million producer, you got to have the right systems in place.
Did we catch the 8-year-old coming in behind me in his tidy whities?
Oh, I didn't see the tidy whities. I just saw the hair. I saw the bleach blonde hair.
Oh god, good thing the screen's blurred out.
Yeah. Dude,
what else you got?
I can't even read my writing. I had one other thing written down, and I can't read the whole thing. So
all right,
that's how bad my handwriting's gotten.
Let's recap for the time being. Recap.
Okay. So quick recap. Make it about something bigger than yourself. Find a peer to push you. Gamify everything: prospecting, closing, client renewals, everything. Think bigger. Set crazy kind of goals that would be kind of fun to pursue. And then make sure you have the right systems in place, not just prospecting, but also renewing clients. Because if you really want to grow your book, you got to have systems.
Got it. Wanted to say something real quick on the burnout piece. So we had put up a post about this a little bit, like maybe a week or so ago, and then Nikki Brandt, our friend who's a CSO, like a insurance related recruiter, go check her out, by the way, if you haven't. Super smart, really good at what she does. She had just reused one of the things we talk about. Basically, it's boundaries or burnout. And I, at least for me, I know, especially if you're getting real thirsty for business, you'll take on anybody and everybody, especially if you feel like you're behind the 8 ball revenue wise. And what's hard to do for me is to step back and have boundaries and say, no, I don't work with this kind of person. I know this might be revenue now, but it's going to be, a catastrophe later, or, what have you. So that one little thing. And then also with burnout, so my wife's a doctor, physician, and she is just like, I've talked to you about this off air before, but she has bought her own business. She started a second business. Like, she does all the things all the time. And just, if she's just always putting, 80 pounds of shit in a 40-pound sack. And so now, we've got 5 kids under 11, and she wants to be doing less, but she can't, because we've already kind of worked ourselves into this corner where she's already got all of these obligations financially, work-wise, employees, this, that, and the other. And so she can't scale back. So she is just absolutely burnt out. She'll tell you that, totally just burnout. And so she was doing some looking into like how to overcome burnout. And apparently she's not the only one. Physician burnout is a very common thing, and it's a big problem. And actually there's like a pretty big suicide issue with physician burnout, dentists actually being the worst.
Wow.
But anyways, so this is all long story short, Shane, that one of the biggest thing that kept coming up over and over and over is finding something outside of work that you can pour yourself into that gives you joy. So she took up running. She's a former really elite gymnast, college athlete. And so she gets up every morning at 5:30 and she trains for a marathon. And over the course of the last 2 years, she's gotten good. Now she's trying to qualify for Boston. And so she's gone all in, and I can't tell you the difference it's made for her, because she has some type of creative or physical outlet outside of her practice. It's it feeds her so that she can then show up like she needs to in her practice. Right. So I don't know. Surely that's got to translate to us as producers, finding something outside of the office that you can pour your creative or physical energies into. And then it will refill your cup so that then you can come back to the office and be a better version of yourself. So I don't know what your take is on that. But I never really thought about that before. And I've seen how it's worked for her, firsthand. So highly recommend giving that a try if you just feel like, man, I'm at my wit's end. I've got nothing left to give. Just an idea.
No, I think that's powerful. And a couple different thoughts I have on it. It's interesting because you could take the one thought could be less is more. And so it's okay, to play devil's advocate, not saying obviously it's worked well for her, but I'm just saying, you got all the physician stuff and the work stuff that's stressing you out. And then you're adding another thing in your downtime that's essentially adding more.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, it's kind of like we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, when I said active meditation. It's being totally present with something that you find that flow state or whatever. And so maybe for her moving her body and running and being kind of by herself is a way to do that, right? Where it's and so that's kind of where what I'm taking out of it is find something that gets you to that state. Also it's, if you listen to the old ancient people from every religion and everything, it's, how do you be still and be totally content with that as well? So it's if you want to dig deeper, maybe there's something, if you're feeling burned out as a producer, how do you just find joy in just everyday life? Right, the walk around the block with your kids or whatever, how do you get to that state? And maybe it's starting to just find joy internally that way. I don't know how you do that. I'm not a guru. But
I'm totally with you. I'm all about addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
And she's the opposite. It's subtraction by addition. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. But it totally has made a huge difference for her.
No, I believe it. Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I mean, when I work, that's why I'm a fan of morning workouts, because when I get done working out, even on the weekend, if I can just do a 10 to 12 minute EMOM kettlebell workout, right? Which, don't knock it till you try it, because I guarantee you might be sitting here 12 minutes. Dude, I guarantee you do a 12-minute EMOM every minute on the minute kettlebell workout with a 50-pound kettlebell. You'll be sweating more than you will at an hour-long gym session. But the point is, I just feel way better. Afterwards, the whole day is just set up, like mentally. We could be doing whatever on the weekend. It could be a Saturday, but if I get my morning, just do something active in the morning, I could be sitting on the couch, just chilling, reading a book, feeling totally content, watching the kids play or whatever. But I feel like movement in the body does that, right? Like some type of exercise. And so, yeah, I mean, that goes without saying, we're not a health channel here, but I think if you're unhealthy, it's going to lead to higher odds of having burnout in sales, right? And being a producer. And if you're crushing it as a producer, you have $1 million book, but you're super unhealthy, feel like crap, what good is that?
Go ahead. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. One more thing. I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I know there's someone sitting here right now driving in their car that's listening to this or whatever. And they're like, okay, all this is great, but like I'm talking about like tactical in the weeds stuff. I'm at 500K or 250K or whatever it is, and I can't break through that. And it's a time issue because I'm, handling client fires, or I'm doing this, or my CSR is not doing that. And so like, is it a delegation thing? Is it I need another CSR? Like I'm bogged down in the day-to-day hand-to-hand combat with clients. How do I fix that so that I can get back to doing what I need to be doing, which is prospecting, knocking on doors, shaking hands, kissing babies. And to that, I would say, I definitely can't answer that. That's your cup of tea. But is that something that we could even answer in this podcast, or is that just super specific to the individual and the situation that they're in?
So I think we kind of answered it, but a generic, kind of in a fluffy way because it's hard to get specific. But having the systems down. But part of that, some practical ways that I think of, if that is you, actually, a guy just messaged me last week on this. And I recommend to him find a virtual assistant, to take off some of that plate of his. He's like, I'm just busy bogged down with emails. I got a couple hundred clients, and he did ask for a recommendation for a virtual assistant, which I don't have one for him, but I got to work on finding one. I think we have some friends in the industry that use them. So that's one idea. Another thing, so with my own team, my account manager was getting pretty maxed out. And so I took the initiative to talk to leadership. And I said, hey, what can we do to help my account manager out? I see she is super stressed, right? And that's ultimately going to bleed into my life because now I'm doing emails and working on COIs and submissions and stuff that I shouldn't really be doing, right? But I'm doing it to help her out because you don't want your team to get burnt out, because then if she leaves, or it's just going to create a bigger fire. So I would encourage you, practical step, talk with your service team. Hey, are you at capacity? Like, let's look at things like where are we getting bogged down? And be like, let's talk to leadership. I want to see if we can get you some support. And so my thing would be like, can we get an analyst for a CSR, maybe a lower paid person, or maybe they use a virtual assistant for your CSR, something. So that's the most practical thing I can think to on the servicing side of things. And then from a sales side of things, I mean, it's really just, you should be using a CRM system. I love Insurance X Date. I don't think we gave it a proper shout out on this channel. It froze in the beginning.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. So, hey, here's the plug. If you haven't bought Insurance X Date or even talked to them, go talk to them. The product and the service and the platform is awesome. I've used it since 2020. The only reason that we accepted money from them is because we love it. Every state's a little bit unique. So like I said, set up a demo with them, check it out for yourself. For me, I couldn't live without it. My life would be in ruins. And we're talking about how do we get more, better use out of our time. For me, Insurance X Date is one of the biggest ways I do that, because I can it's like the easy button for prospecting. Right. And I can knock out, my 40 calls a day in 2 hours pretty simply by using Insurance X Date and using it well. So that's what I'd say to the guy who's like you just said, like the person who just wants some practical feedback on things. Of course, we could go on the same rabbit trail of write bigger accounts, get rid of your small accounts, look at your 80, where's your revenue coming from, right? I guarantee the top 80% of your revenue is probably coming from the top 20% of your accounts, right? I've seen that time and time again. It's even true in my book probably today, but that's just the way it goes. So there's always that exercise you can do too, is just seed it out, or, try to just get rid of the accounts, shave off the fat if you can't handle them all. And one last point, you talked about boundaries. I think it's a practical step, but the boundaries prevent your burnout or whatever. We've all done it. We've all wrote accounts that just suck your mental energy and your physical energy. And so if you have those deals, figure out a way to fire them, right? Because it's probably not a lot. It's probably 1 or 2 or 3 clients max, but maybe that taking off that 1 or 2 or 3 can be huge for you and your team. So I think that was
my dog.
I think
My dog's snoring.
Oh, really?
Can you hear my dog snoring?
No, we're that boring, huh?
I guess, or at least he's just not into insurance.
I don't blame
which is
him.
odd because most poodles are. So,
yeah.
You can't see this, but I have the tortoise to my left, which I think we've talked about before, is a 100-year commitment here. My son begged us for this tortoise, so we're gonna literally have this until I mean, it's gonna outlive me for sure. It'd probably outlive my son. And then I got the dog over here who's snoring. And then I also have a myriad of geckos and lizards on my wall that I'm looking at as we talk, because my kids bring lizards and geckos into the house. They put it in the tortoise cage, but of course they don't stay in there. They crawl out. So my downstairs office is just like, what's that, Dr. Doolittle? I've got animals.
Sorry, yeah. That's awesome. I like it.
So anyways, the joys of 5 children. Let's put a bow on this thing. Do we want to hit a big recap and then we'll sign us off here? You want to hit us off one more time with everything? We're talking breakthrough, burnout, boredom, like getting through the producer plateau. Depending on where that is in your journey, it could be different, a different revenue marker. But let's recap everything that we talked about, and then let's get off this son of a gun.
Yep. Think bigger than yourself. Find a peer to push you. Gamify everything. Help find inner joy. Think huge. Put systems in place, for you and your team. And then we talked about some of those specifics at the end there. So do all that stuff, and then go check out Insurance X Day. Do yourself a big favor, and you'll be a much happier producer.
Bingo bongo. If you want to go further down the rabbit hole with Micah's process and learn how to build a book of business from scratch with cold outbound, then check out the producer playbook. Link to that in the show notes. Also, we send out a weekly newsletter. Sometimes it's more than 1 email a week. Shocker. And I think it's the best newsletter for mid-market producers, or any producers for that matter. Might be the only one. Link to that in the show notes as well, the Max Revenue Letter. And then also a link to go check out Insurance X Day. Go book a demo with those guys and see what they can do. Hell of a product. Can't recommend enough. And I think he said adios, but I can't hear it because my reception is.
You froze there for about 15 seconds. Yeah, adios.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.